So, Baldur's Gate 3 just released a major first patch since its official release out of early access. But hold on, before we dive into all the juicy details, let me catch you up. There were 4 hotfix updates leading up to this patch that set the stage for some serious improvements. While there's a huge amount of changes and fixes, let's zoom in on the performance enhancements, as it's my specialty. The changelog mentions a few performance improvements, things like miscellaneous performance optimizations, minor GPU time improvements on the Vulkan renderer, and even fixing a pesky memory leak on saving and loading. So let's jump right into the comparisons, where I will be comparing CPU and GPU limited scenarios in both DX11 and Vulkan. Just so you know, I'm using hotfix 4 redeployed to compare the first patch with. First up, the DX11 CPU limited scenario. Baldur's Gate in Act 3 is a beast, a CPU thirsty monster that had everyone complaining about performance issues. With the new update, there is a small performance improvement. Those jarring stutters and hang-ups are much tamer now. My rig went from a stutterfest to a much smoother experience. Just look at the difference in the average FPS and 1% lows. VRAM and RAM usage have noticeably decreased as well. Moving on to the GPU limited performance on DX11. There is a small FPS increase in this scene. VRAM and RAM usage are about the same, maybe even slightly lower usage with the new patch, but it's within the margin of error. Let's move on to the CPU performance on Vulkan. But bear in mind that for some reason, there's a visual lag that's only displayed in the recording and not in the game. As you can see, the frame rate is basically the same, while the VRAM and RAM usage have also noticeably decreased overall. That's pretty much all there is to it. Let's move on to the GPU performance on Vulkan. Unfortunately, I can't notice any difference in FPS with the new patch on Vulkan, although the VRAM and RAM usage seems to have been lowered throughout the game on both APIs. I would like to give out a big shout out to Larian Studios for this patch. As I play on DirectX 11, performance has increased in both CPU and GPU limited scenarios, at least on my system, which makes me excited to see what future updates will bring to this masterpiece of a game. Tell me, have you noticed any performance improvements with this patch?